In tabletop RPGs, our player characters are usually cast in the role of like Old West gunslingers. They're taking justice into their own hands because the cavalry isn't coming. They're too far away. They can't deal with this. You're out in the village of Hamlet, and there's some bandits out in a moat house. And if you don't go stop them, they're going to kidnap everybody from the village of Hamlet, and they're going to sacrifice them to release the demon Zugtamoy into the world. So you've got to go deal with this. Nobody else is coming to help. You're playing Call of Cthulhu, and a star spawn is about to be birthed into the world. And if you don't stop them, this world is over. So who cares if you have to break some laws, if you have to go into that antique dealer's house and you have to kill them to get that ancient text that is corrupting their mind. Bigger things are at stake here. I don't have time for your law and your order. I have to save the world. But sometimes we do put our players in that situation where they are in a town where law and order applies. Civilizations, cities, depend on order to survive. It may not be an order that is for the greater good of everybody. It may not apply to certain classes like kings or nobles. It may not apply to clergy, and people may be able to get out of it. But most citizens, most people in the town, and the guards, importantly, understand that there's a set of rules, a set of customs that are to be obeyed. Take, for example, the stoplight. We all basically understand red means stop, green means go in most countries. And we all obey it because everybody else is. There is no wall that comes up in front of your car that prevents you from going in the intersection. You stop because you understand if you did go forward, that driver is thinking that you're going to obey the rules, and you might end up in a car accident. You might die, and you might take them with you. You have player characters that are used to being out there in Hamlet, and they come into Waterdeep, and they decide that they're going to go into a bar, and they're going to gamble a little bit. And they lose their shirt, everything they got, to some guild member from Xanathar's guild. And then they decide to blow up a fireball in that tavern. The guard's going to come in and want to arrest them, and they're not going to understand why that guard doesn't understand that that's a member of Xanathar's guild. That's a beholder. Don't you know that? Most city guards probably won't, but they do understand, I can't have you blowing up taverns with fireballs. And that is kind of a reversal for the players. They're used to being able to basically take the law into their own hands, and now they have to operate within the bounds of the law. You can't absolutely run a city as if it's the wilderness. That's what Gotham City is in the Batman comics. Law and order is broken down. The police are incapable of handling Joker, Two-Face, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy. They can't even handle somebody that's a normal run-of-the-mill criminal, as it were, of Falcone. He's a mobster boss. They can't even deal that, or won't, because they're corrupt. But Gordon and Batman both understand that if Batman was ever actually able to solve these problems, if the comics ever actually let him win, then Batman would have to go away. Because Batman is operating outside the realms of normal law and order, and Gordon would be forced to arrest him, as he is sometimes in the comics. He can't really fully acknowledge that, because then the people wouldn't have trust in law and order and the police's ability to maintain that. And he needs that. That's what they're both fighting for. Of all the adventures that we can run with our players in a city, an investigation, a mystery is the thing that's going to put the players the most in the camp of law and order with the city guard, the city watch, the police, whatever the order is for your particular city. There's lots of advice online about running a mystery, usually around the rule of three. 3 clues from 3 different parties so that if the players miss that clue, you can just shuffle it around and give it to them somewhere else so that they don't miss something that is required to complete the adventure. And that's good advice. I use it for my normal adventures. If there is a plot hook that I want them to have, then I have 3 different ways that they can possibly trip over that plot hook. My challenge with mysteries is always that I am not Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, nor am I Agatha Christie. I have trouble writing a mystery in a way that is engaging enough to my players where they will feel like they got a mystery and they won't detect me shuffling things around, which can cheapen the adventure to them. They know that I am trying to do that and that they miss something, or that I wrote it so simply that they found who the killer was in the first 15 minutes. I have the same problem with writing an adventure that they do writing mysteries for like a police procedural drama. When those shows are on, within the first 15 minutes, I usually know who the killer is. Because there is some scene where somebody should not be there, except that they're the killer. There is a wealthy scion that has been kidnapped from this noble family. and the noble family comes in to provide testimony to the police, and they're being interviewed there. And then for some reason, there is an uncle there, or an estranged brother or sister, or the neighbor who just came along to make sure everything was okay in here. Why are they there? They don't need to be in that scene. The mother and father make sense. They're there because, of course, this person has parents and they care about them. This person's sad, but you didn't need them there to have that scene. The only reason they're there is because they're the killer. Because in a procedural drama, you don't have enough time to do what you would in a full novel. Poirot can't go wandering around talking to every maid, every steward, every butler, every cook, everyone that is on the ship and find everything about them, and you don't have time for enough people to die multiple times and limit the choices. You have to get through a 1-hour show, or in our case, a 4-hour adventure. So you start cutting people, which means you only have the minimal amount of people that you need. You have the police officers, the soldiers, whoever this is. Then you have the players. Then you have the murder victim and their immediate family. And then you have 3 or 4 other people. And that means that they've got about a 25% chance of picking the murderer right away. And when that murderer is there in that scene, they're going to roll an insight check. I could say, no, you have no reason to roll an insight check. They're saying nothing suspicious, which in and of itself is suspicious for me to say, but I feel like I'm robbing the players of their right. They can have an insight check. Absolutely, you can have feelings about this person, and you're using that insight check to figure out what you're supposed to feel about this person. That's their right to do that. I don't want to take that away from them. But if they succeed at their insight check and I say, yeah, this person is hiding something, they're going to go, killer, killer, killer. Everybody see that this is the killer, and they're going to attack them right then and there in the interrogation room. And the police are going to have to try to come in and stop them, because this isn't how we do things. In a city where there is law and order, it's not enough to know who the killer is. The important thing is to be able to prove who the killer is and how they did it.
Trevor McDowell.
No, he was running the marathon. It checked out.
I don't know how he did it, but he's the guy.
I put an adventure that I ran with my players. I polished it up, got it all pretty, put all the things that I kind of kept in my head that I wouldn't normally write down for myself in there. So it's a little bit more wordy than I would normally tell a dungeon master to do. There's things that you write down for yourself, and then there's things that you just kind of know. But I lack YouTube telepathic powers, and I have no way to get what's in my head into your head in a short 15-minute video. So sometimes I got to write it down. There are probably mistakes in there. Let me know down in the comments. I'll try to fix them. I am the editor, and I'm dyslexic, so I'm not a very good editor. It's what I got to work with, folks. I don't know what you want from me. This adventure is about figuring out why this priestess Racine died, not about who killed her. Turning it from why she died, how she was killed, makes it more about getting the city guard, the city watch on the side of the players. They want to help the players. They know the players aren't on their side. They just need enough proof so that they can take it to their masters, their watch captain, their watch commander, whoever it is, the captain of the guard, and say, look, we have enough evidence. This person was beyond us. We weren't allowed to touch them before. But with this amount of evidence that these players have gathered, can we now go and arrest Lord what's his name or Baron who's a what's it? And our players are going to go interrogate these people and have conversations with villains. They already know you're responsible. I just don't know how you did it. And that is a really infuriating, in a good way, conversation for our players. That classic police drama thing of, that's a really nice theory, but can you prove it? If not, I'd like you to leave now, please. Players are going to walk away from that conversation frustrated and annoyed at this guy, which is a really good feeling for when they finally turn the tables and get to go take them down. That feels like it is righteous and that they are doing an ultimate good, which is what we want for our players. But you don't want to run my adventure, you want to write your own. That sounds like a lot of fun. That's why I enjoy doing it. Where do you start? I start with my villain. I pick a villain and pick a name. In my case, it's Baron Lockwood. And then I need to know what this person's crime is. You need a crime, just go straight to the 7 deadly sins. Pride, wrath, lust, sloth, greed, envy, and gluttony. I think I got them all. In this case, Baron Lockwood's crime is pride. He is proud of his elven heritage, and he is ashamed of his human heritage. And I must hide that because my pride demands it. And no death, no sacrifice is too great for this secret to get out. I have to hide it. It's not enough for me in most of my adventures to just have the one bad guy, because I need a middleman that they can get to first before they get to this person. They have to flip this person, either by legitimately flipping them and saying, hey, come over to our side, or by flipping them at the point of a sword or a fireball. So I need to understand what these people's interaction is when we're talking about power. People that are powerful and evil can never get enough power. $1 billion is not enough. I need $2 billion. Then I need $3 billion. I need more money. Why? I need to feel like I've got it all, everything. That's how greed works. One type of power is not enough. Let's take that person that has $3 billion. Somebody with political power could take that away from me. They could raise my taxes. They could federalize my business. They could have the military march in and seize my assets. I can't have that, so I need to find some way to get other kinds of power. For me, I break that up into economic power, military power, political power, religious power, and possibly magic power, depending on the kingdom and how I see magic running in it. I got that from Dale Kingsmill. I've thought about it before, but she put it in a really good context, and she's good at it. Thus enters our next member of the conspiracy. In my case, it's Bryce Cantor. Bryce Cantor has some power. He is a high priest. He has a flock. He has religious power. People that are coming to him and believe that he is giving them the word of a god. And if he calls them to action, they might go. That is a type of power, but it's under threat. The elves have control here. They have every other kind of power. They have monetary power, political, military, whatever it is. And if they wanted to, they could illegalize the religion. They could come in and they could put them all in chains. They could kill his flock. And then where would he be? So he needs to change this. So our next person down the line needs a type of power that our first person has in spades and maybe cares about, but not enough that they're not willing to give up some of that to get what they really want, in our case, hiding that I'm half human. Now I can trade that power between these people. Lockwood is paying gold to Bryce Cantor to take and distribute the things that I need to hide my half-elvenness. Then we need somebody else that has no power. Boy, I have said power a lot. Sorry for that, but I mean, that's what this is about. So we need a patsy. People in power don't want to get their hands dirty. We don't want any crime traced back to me. I might lose the power that I have. My secret might come out. I might be deposed as my position of high cleric of whatever the god is that in your setting Bryce Cantor would worship. These people will use their power to force somebody else to do it by threatening what they care about. And this is the crux of kind of how this is all going to fall apart. This person has something that they care about, that they love, that they cherish, that is understandable to our players and the other NPCs that might be involved in the story. So when the crime finally happens, when somebody finally dies that is traced back to our patsy, now patsy is understandable in why they committed the crime, which is going to force the players to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. It is not just and fair that this person is held to account. We got to figure out who's actually here, because the lieutenant, or more appropriately, the lieutenant's bosses are perfectly happy with the patsy. That's fine if that person goes down the river, because the order of the society has been served. We don't care about justice. We care about maintaining the status quo. But the heroes shouldn't be. They're going to go try to chase this up the tree until they can finally get to this person, and they have to prove that's who was finally in control, enough that these people over here, the people that are actually in charge, are willing to go along with it. Now that we've got all the NPCs, we need to figure out who has what evidence, who knows what. Starting at the bottom for our patsy, they probably know the least about the crime. They don't know who's actually in charge. They don't know why this was done, but they do probably have the physical evidence, the smoking gun. In my case, it's Grayson and Maris. They have the candles, and when the players inspect those candles, they'll start to be clued on that this is more than just one murdered elven priestess. Maris and Grayson don't know what those things are, and they don't know what they're used for. They don't know why people are getting sick. And as you go up, you get less and less hard physical smoking guns and more information. It might come in the form of interrogations, using deception, intimidation, persuasion to get something out of these people. And it might come in the form of journals or ledgers or maps or notes, whatever that is just the written details. When you get to the top of the criminal pyramid, this person has no evidence whatsoever. They have a lot of information. They might be able to give some things to them that lead people to question why they weren't where they said they were or something like that. But they have nothing that can be pinned on them without flipping or toppling these dominoes down here at the bottom. Because that's the whole point of having this conspiracy, is that I can't be tripped up, I can't be attached to this unless all of these people fall. And then start figuring out how they're going to react to the different social skills. The players are absolutely going to intimidate these people. They're probably going to try to persuade them. They may get really clever and try to use deception. They're definitely going to try insight and figure out who's guilty and who's not. And they might try perception and see like, hey, do these people have any like dyed hands, or do they have like a pale skin that they're a vampire or something like that? All those skills are going to come into play. So making some notes in advance about what each person has in real shorthand will help you when the players ask something, even if it's not something you prepared. Knowing what they know helps you improvise on the spot. And they shouldn't react the same way. If you intimidate Grayson and Maris, they're just going to spill their guts. They're already caught in an impossible situation. They're already feeling guilty. They're already feeling under pressure and under strain. And they just want out of this. They just want to go back to their normal lives. Those people will be intimidated and go straight to fear. Then you get up to the middleman, the villain, but not arch villain, in my case, Bryce Cantor. If you intimidate this person, in certain circumstances, he's not going to fold. If you intimidate him with guards around, with other priests around, what I want, my religious power, is now under threat. No, I am not going to be intimidated. Certainly not as easy as if you got me alone and you confronted me with evidence that might topple me. If you have that, and if you can get me alone, then I might spill my guts for a promise that I won't be charged, that I can get away with this, that I can keep what it is I value. Because this person isn't an archvillain. They're not fully committed to this plan. They're fully committed to getting money or getting political power or getting whatever else it is that they wanted. This was just a means to an end. And if this means has to go away, it's more important that I survive. That is not the case for our archvillain. Our archvillain, when they finally get there, yeah, I could see a situation where the players try to intimidate this person and they try to deceive them or persuade them. You could absolutely see them intimidating him and the archvillain going, "You never understood my brilliance. No one ever does. Don't you see? This is the only way, blah, 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 blah." Or they try to deceive them and he goes, "I knew you would see the light eventually. Let me invite you into my lair and show you around and all my evil plots like some sort of Bond villain." Okay, I could see either of those happening. But that's not the same as, "Oh, you've intimidated me. Oh no, let me give up everything. I'm sorry that I'm a villain." They're not going to do that because they're an archvillain. They are committed to this fully. This, in my case, keeping my secret of my hidden human heritage, is the most important thing to me. That is worth death of anyone else. I'd rather die than admit that shame. So the intimidate might work, but it's not going to be, "I'm afraid of you heroes." The heroes don't want it to work. That would be anticlimactic for the story. These last couple of videos, and I think maybe one or two more, are really what I think about when I think about running this kind of mystery, which is getting a little bit more deeper in depth into, I'd say, the art of dungeon mastering than just the base rules that are here. I don't like to change the rules too much, but there's definitely some fuzzy edges around the rules and how you run them and how you adjudicate that. If you enjoy this kind of content, like and subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. Until next time, Dungeon Masters, remember, you're a player too. Try to have some fun.